All right, today we're diving into a pretty wild ancient legend. It's all about ambition, power, and a paradise that was built to go head to head with heaven itself. This is a story that has echoed through the ages, a serious, cautionary tale about a king who dared to build his own heaven right here on Earth. So let's just start with the question at the heart of this whole thing. What if a king, someone so powerful and so proud, just decided he didn't need a promised paradise because, well, he figured he could build an even better one himself? Okay, so just try to imagine a place of just impossible wealth. A city made of gold lost somewhere in the desert. Its name isn't really whispered in history books, but in legends and in sacred texts. And we're not just talking about golden walls. We're talking about a city where the very ground under your feet, it wasn't dirt or stone. Nope. It sparkled with precious gems. A city where rivers literally flowed over beds of pearls. And then, just like that, in one single terrifying moment, it was gone. Completely erased from existence, swallowed up by the desert sands as if it had never been there in the first place. This, my friends, is the legend of Iram of the Pillars. It's a fabled city totally lost to time. So let's uncover its story and the lesson it was meant to teach. So what exactly was Iram? Well, it wasn't just a city. It was meant to be the absolute pinnacle of human achievement. You know, a literal heaven on earth, built by this mighty, ancient people known as the Tribe of Ad. For centuries, explorers and adventurers have dreamed of finding it. This ghost city buried somewhere out in the sands. Now, behind a mythical city this incredible, there had to be an equally incredible ambition. And that ambition was driven by the pride and the power of one man, King SHADAD. SHADAD was a ruler with immense, almost unimaginable power. He controlled vast lands, he commanded huge armies, and his wealth was so great, his rule so absolute, that his pride just started to warp his whole perspective on his place in the universe. He really saw no one, not even a higher power, as his equal. But here's the real kicker. This is what makes his story so unique. The legend says that when he heard prophets talking about a promised paradise in the afterlife, he didn't feel humbled or inspired. He felt competitive. He basically declared that he didn't need a promised paradise. He'd just build a better one himself. So with that incredibly defiant vow, SHADAD got to work creating his masterpiece. He spared absolutely no expense, gathering up the entire world's resources to build his own false heaven right here on Earth. Look, this wasn't just construction. This was an act of pure, magnificent audacity. A project on a scale the world had never even thought of. Just imagine his agents traveling to every corner of the known world, stripping mines and treasuries to bring back every single ounce of gold and every last gem. The city itself was just an assault on the senses, a paradise of pure material wealth. 300 years. That's right. That's how long the legends say it took. I mean, it's an almost unbelievable amount of time to gather all those materials and build this monumental city. Generations were born, lived their entire lives, and died, all while working on SHADAD's obsessive project. So after centuries of work, after generations of labor, the city was finally finished. The word was sent to King SHADAD, and he began his great journey to see his creation and to take his throne in his self-made paradise. Can you just feel the tension of this moment? A whole lifetime of ambition, centuries of work, all of it coming down to this single step. After a long journey across the desert, there it was, shimmering in the distance, Iram of the Pillars. SHADAD finally reached the gate, ready to claim his reward. So as King SHADAD, filled with pride and victory, lifted his foot to cross the threshold into the city that he had spent his life, his fortune, and his people building, everything changed. A terrible, deafening sound, a single mighty blast, just echoed from the sky. This wasn't thunder. It was described as a cry of divine judgment, the final, definitive answer to his challenge. And in that one instant, before he could even taste his victory, before his foot even touched the jeweled ground of his city, the king and all of his followers paid the ultimate price for their unbelievable arrogance. This monument to human pride was just completely nullified. SHADAD and his entire court were annihilated right there at the gates of their paradise. And as they fell, A furious sandstorm rose up and just buried the city, wiping it clean from the face of the earth, leaving nothing but the legend behind. Now, the legend, of course, is this powerful allegory. It presents a really stark comparison. On one side, you've got a paradise built entirely on pride, made of fleeting things like gold and jewels, designed to be temporary. And on the other, you have a promised paradise that's built on faith, made of spirit and light, and meant to be eternal. And this is really why it matters, right? This is why this story has been told for so many generations. It's a cautionary tale about the dangers of hubris, a warning that our greatest strengths, our ambition, our creativity, our power, can actually become our downfall if they aren't balanced with a little humility. Which leaves us with a final, really thought-provoking question that's just as relevant for us today as it was thousands of years ago. In our own lives, in our own pursuits of greatness, where do we draw that incredibly fine line between healthy, driving ambition and destructive, blinding arrogance?